The tablets were remade. The covenant was restored. The journey resumed. But the people themselves remained unchanged. They had been rescued from Egypt, but Egypt had not been fully removed from their hearts. They were free, yet they complained. Their freedom was a miracle, but their menu was not up to their standards. They missed the fish, the cucumbers, and the cheap labor of slavery. They despised the miraculous manna, the very food of angels. The murmuring began as a soft rustle, then became a loud, insistent roar. They did not just complain to each other, they complained to Moses. They complained to God. They demanded the comfort of their past bondage over the terrifying uncertainty of their promised freedom. The spirit of discontent is contagious. The burden on Moses became unbearable. He was no longer just a prophet. He was a one-man spiritual complaints department. The pressure of leading 1,000,000 people who actively resented their rescue became crushing. Moses cried out to God in pure exhaustion, "Why have you dealt ill with your servant? Have I conceived all this people? Did I give birth to them, that you should say to me, 'Carry them in your bosom, as a nurse carries a nursing child, to the land that you swore to give their fathers?'" It was the cry of a man pushed to his absolute limit. He was ready to quit. He asked God to just kill him right there, rather than endure the agony of their constant rejection. The answer was not rest. The answer was shared burden. God commanded Moses to gather 70 elders, 70 men of reputation, and God took the spirit that was upon Moses and placed it upon the 70. The spirit of leadership was distributed. The weight was shared, but the murmuring was merely the appetizer for the true test. Korah's rebellion. Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, men of standing, gathered 250 chieftains, rising up against Moses and Aaron. Their charge was political, but their motivation was ambition. "You have gone too far. The whole congregation is holy, and the Lord is among them. Why then do you exalt yourselves above the assembly of the Lord?" They challenged the authority. They questioned the calling. They confused the sanctity of the people with the sacredness of the command. They wanted the benefits of holiness without the discipline of hierarchy. Moses did not argue on his own behalf. He threw the test to God. He commanded the rebels to take their censers, fill them with incense, and stand before the tabernacle. The terrifying resolution was swift. The glory of the Lord appeared. The command came, "Separate yourselves from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment." Moses and Aaron fell on their faces, interceding yet again. But for Korah and his followers, the earth itself was the judge. It opened its mouth. It swallowed them, their families, their possessions, their tents, and closed over them. A visible final judgment against the sin of self-appointed authority. The 250 men who offered unauthorized incense were consumed by a fire that came out from the Lord. The leadership was affirmed through a calamity. The test was brutal but necessary. Let's pause. Let's consider the nature of this weariness. The burden on Moses wasn't the logistical nightmare of feeding 1,000,000 people. The burden was the relational rejection. It's the pain of being constantly accused by the very people you have sacrificed everything to save. This scroll is about the exhaustion of the visionary, the weariness that comes when the people you lead actively resist the destiny you can clearly see. Moses was not exempt from failure, but his authority was validated because he never sought it for himself. He always walked into the presence of the fire for them. The shared burden with the 70 elders was a recognition of human limitation. The Spirit is infinite, but the vessel is finite. The mission requires a team, not a singularity.
The weight of the promise is always heavier than the promise itself. If you're carrying the vision alone, you're doing it wrong. If you want to walk in the fire, you have to accept the burn. The greatest leaders don't seek validation, they seek direction.